at noon.
Good afternoon and a very happy Friday to all of you. I'm Laura Hettiger in for Emily Rao. Thanks for joining us. It has been 36 hours since two police officers were shot right outside the Ferguson Police Department. Both of those officers are now out of the hospital and back home with their families. But St. Louis County Police tell me their number one goal today is to locate and arrest whoever pulled the trigger and shot those policemen. As the search for the shooter continues, it was a much more peaceful night on the streets of Ferguson. I have some very positive news to pass along right now. I have confirmed that both of the officers who were shot just about 12 hours ago have since been released from Barnes Jewish Hospital. They are now able to make their recoveries at home. The police chief, John Belmar, stepped in front of reporters here at St. Louis County Police Headquarters about 3 hours ago, and he explained that the Webster Groves officer actually was hit by a bullet right here, right in the cheek. That bullet is now lodged behind his ear, but again, he has been released. As for the other officer who was shot, we do know that is a county police officer, and the chief tells me that officer took a bullet right here in the shoulder, one that went through his body. It ended up exiting right out of his back. Good morning to you, Alyssa. I can say good morning for a couple of reasons. First off, the rain has stopped falling enough where I don't have to balance the umbrella and the microphone anymore. But it's also good morning because it was such a good night out here by all accounts. First off, you can see South Florissant Road is open. I can tell you there's no violence, no shootings, and no arrests. But don't think that nothing happened here overnight. There was actually quite a big protest that happened right behind me just a few hours ago. So now there's only one city employee named in that report that News 4 is still working to get in contact with. That is the police chief, Tom Jackson. I got pretty close on Friday. I tried talking to him as he was walking into the police department, but he completely ignored me. We know a lot of you will be celebrating this St. Patrick's Day weekend. Just don't drink and drive. That is the warning coming from police on both sides of the river. But just in the last 20 to 30 minutes, I did get an update from St. Louis County Police. They tell me the two officers are in serious condition, but they sustained non-life-threatening injuries. But I've been able to speak with St. Louis County and Ferguson Police today, and they do confirm to me that, in fact, there were active protests right out here on South Florissant last night, right in front of the Ferguson Police Department. However, they do tell me that those protests were relatively small. As for the shooting that happened on Thursday, the victims in this went down right over here, right behind me, and we do know one man is in custody. The prosecuting attorney has named that it is 20-year-old Jeffrey Williams, but he also admits more arrests could be coming. We cover a lot of fires on News 4 this morning, and this one is just disturbing because now when the weather is about to be nice and kids want to be outside, they sure are not going to be able to use this jungle gym. We do know he is 38 years old, and according to police, he allegedly threw bombs out the window of his car during that police pursuit. And then they say as he was being taken into custody, he had one in his hand and tried detonating it as those officers were right there. News 4 tracking crime today, and police in North St. Louis arrive at a scene as bullets are still flying. Some very different statistics I have to report to you this morning. First off, South Florissant Road is not a crime scene. There was no violence last night, no shootings, and no arrests. But that does not mean there was no protesting. Within the last minute since I have been on the air, I did just get confirmation from St. Louis County Police that there is a SWAT investigation going on in Ferguson. Our Mike Colombo is at that scene. I can confirm that SWAT investigators are in Ferguson in relation to the investigation on who shot those two police officers overnight. When we do get more information, we will let you know.
Laura, we know you've been reporting on this since moments after the shooting. You've been standing outside of that hospital for hours. We know that one officer is from the county, one from Webster Groves. Can you give us a sense on the different departments that have been showing up to show their respects to the officers?
Andre, right after this happened, St. Louis City Police rushed here. Barnes Jewish Hospital is in the city of St. Louis. I've covered multiple officer-involved shootings, and whenever one is injured, there's always a big police presence. So right when we got here around 1:30 or 1:45 this morning, there are police officers all over Kings Highway here. Many of them had their lights on. A lot of St. Louis City police officers, of course, county police officers. John Belmar, a lieutenant colonel, was also here. And in fact, I saw City Police Chief Sam Dodson talking to a couple of officers. We also believe we saw some Ferguson officers here. So a massive presence. I would estimate at the height 20 to possibly 30 police cars were all blocking Kings Highway.
Laura, we know you've been keeping in close contact with St. Louis County Police throughout the morning, texting back and forth with those public information officers. At last check, no suspect information was available. Any indication at all that they may be able to release any information at this 9 o'clock press conference?
I am sure hoping so, Alyssa, and I've done several news updates with Police Chief John Belmar, and he is very loquacious during these. He gives a lot of information, all the information that he can. So we are hoping that, yes, there could be some potential suspect information. We are looking for that, and you better believe that is exactly what I am going to be asking. And if they can pass any of that along, of course, we'll pass it along to all of you, so any of our viewers could possibly be on the lookout for whoever did this as well.
Laura Hettiger, exceptional job as always right outside Barnes Jewish Hospital. Now let's get to
like this.
Two more for Mr. Stenger. If anybody has anything else for us. All right, we appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And that was County Executive Steve Stenger just finishing up about a 25-minute news conference. It started off with St. Louis County Police Chief John Belmar speaking to all of us. So right off the bat, for any of you who are just joining us, might have heard the news this morning that 2 police officers were shot overnight. I want to go ahead and explain right now their conditions. We have learned that the Webster Groves officer was actually shot right here in the cheek, and right now the bullet that hit him is lodged behind his ear. The other officer is from St. Louis County. We understand he had a through and through shot, meaning he was hit right about here in the shoulder, and the chief described it went out through the right side of his back. The chief said he had a chance to speak to the officers both when they got to Barnes Hospital last night. Both of them obviously in a lot of pain. I did have a chance to ask the chief, do you have any idea who did this? What information do you have on the suspects? He said right now his crews, his police officers are out in Ferguson following up any leads. He would not elaborate on that, but he did say as of right now, no one is in custody. Now he did say that luckily, by God's grace, we didn't lose 2 officers last night. He mentioned what happened in New York in December with those 2 officers being killed in an ambush. An ambush is exactly the word he used to describe what happened last night. He said that they believe those shots came from about 125 yards away. He says the officers saw the fire coming off of the muzzle of the guns. They think it was a pistol or a handgun. They do say they have recovered a couple of shell casings. From what we understand, it does sound like 4 shots might have been fired. 2, of course, hit those officers. So what do we do now? How do we move forward? That is the big question that is going to be asked over and over throughout the day. Someone, though, did have a chance to ask the county executive, do you see this as a setback in the healing process happening in Ferguson? He says no. He does not see it as a setback, but obviously his heart goes out to those officers, the families of them. But you can depend on News 4 to stay on this story all day. When we do have any updates, we'll let you know on air and online at KMOV.com. Back to you guys.
You can depend on News 4 thanks to reporters such as Laura Hettiger, who started reporting on this in the moment after the 2 officers were shot.
All right, you have to take a look at your TV right now. Check out this absolutely bizarre video we found out of southwestern China. This is a 1-year-old poodle, and it's walking on its 2 hind legs, and it's dressed like a child, of course, book bag and all. Now, the dog's owner says he spent 2 months training the poodle to walk upright, and now the dog can walk about a mile on his hind legs. Wow. Well, that is great. Okay.
I don't even know what to say about that.
Nope.
Must have taken a lot of work.
Yeah, one way to walk the dog. But time now to answer the fun fact, and we are sticking with the theme of dog training.
And I have 3, so I should know a little bit about this. Okay, it's a little more ordinary. What is the most common training command taught to dogs? Play dead, stay, beg, sit, dance, or roll over? I don't think it's dance.
The answer is sit. It is the
that.
most common command taught to dogs. By the way, according to the American Kennel Club, the Labrador is the most popular breed of dog. And Megan, you said you have 3 or 2 lab mixes?
I have 2 lab mixes and a boxer mix. They can all sit, and that's about it.
Hey, my dog can turn if you put a treat like this.
Oh, so it's almost dancing?
Yeah, almost. I like to think so. Hey, you guys have a great Friday the 13th. We will see you back here at 5 o'clock.
I didn't know it was the 13th.
Yeah, and a rainy one.
Yeah, a little bit soggy, but a better weekend coming.
Have a good one.